It has returned, as I have feared. The sickness must not gain power. There is only one way to make sure this does not happen. It is up to them to push back against the coming storm. My children will fight. They will save us all.
But Khazidd is fine too.
Khazidd?
It's a nice way of saying that you were wrong, Mackie.
You know what? So welcome to the Woo! Mackie's getting drunk, so it's cool. All right. So guys, you know what we're gonna be talking about?
You?
Bitch. Sorry.
Got something to tell you. This is actually your intervention.
Oh. No, so we're gonna be touching on we're gonna talk about my.com. We're gonna talk about some of the Gamescom. Somebody correct me. Fuck. Gamescom interview. If you haven't seen that, I'll just briefly go over that. We're gonna talk about community manager. And we're going to talk about PvP players versus PvE players, PvE players versus PvP players.
Do you have a script that you're going off of, or are you just going to wing everything?
Moose, you want to tell them how this goes?
It's your first Mackie podcast, Khazidd?
Yes, it is.
My first.
It is. Okay, so, yeah. I want to say 50% is going to be scripted, 50% is not. Yeah, that's not it. No,
this is your first podcast with me too, isn't it?
Yeah, I know you like to talk a lot.
I don't like other people's scripts.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't like to script. I just kind of like look at it and then, okay, cool. Yeah, and then most of the time it's just Moose talking.
Well, Mackie's pretty good at he'll jump off of things that you say. That way, it's not. Because a lot of times you'll say something that's really interesting, but it's off script, I guess. So then you just go to the next topic, and you don't really get to revisit it.
I mean, we talk about whatever comes up. Mm-hmm. I'm not like, oh, you know what? We're off script. We gotta go back.
I think your mic messed up, Khazidd.
No, he's just beating that child.
Yeah, poor kid.
So is that your son?
No. Why would I be babysitting my son?
Because that's what parents do.
No.
I don't know. I don't have any kids.
He's my nephew.
Oh, that's sweet. How old?
He's 5.
Oh, Lord. Lock him in the closet.
He's a little shit. And my girlfriend's like super shy around other people's kids. So they're in the living room right now just like trying to bear each other's company.
Oh my God. Sucks.
I'd love to see like a webcam just to see what's happening.
Okay. Before we start to get off. Oh my God.
Dude, you gotta rein yourself in.
Okay. Okay. So hi, welcome to the podcast. I swear I'm not always like this.
You're a little bit more than usual.
Are you recording?
I'm always recording.
Oh, great.
So, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, so I'm going to do a little intro, do my little, hi, welcome. You can introduce yourself. If you have any content you want to push out, do that in the beginning. And then at the end of the podcast, you're going to tell everybody where they can find you on Discord, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Or where they can't find me.
Or where they can't. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep. Born ready.
All right. Are you ready, Moose?
Yep.
Okay, so Khazidd. Can I call you Zid?
No.
Oh, bitch. Can I call you Kaz?
I go by Kaz more than anything.
Okay, how about this? How about I say, welcome to my guest, and then you say...
It's just Khazidd. It's not that.
Khazidd. It sounds like closet. Khazidd. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Yay! Welcome back to the channel. Stepping through the gateway today are my special guests, Moose and Khazidd. Guys, introduce yourself.
I'm Mooseknee, and I'm a community writer, and I've written a few short stories and posted them up on the Ashes forums, and I'm a member of Sons of the Seven.
And I'm Khazidd, an opinionated nobody in Sons of the Seven.
So today we're going to be touching on some hot topics around the community. Starting off the discussion... Oh, fuck. I wrote that twice. Starting off this discussion will be the my.com that... Oh my god. What? Fuck, I'm just going to skip that. If you haven't heard, Intrepid Studio has announced that my.com and mail.ru will be publishing Ashes of Creation Cs. Of course, this has caused some controversy and some uproar in the community. Since the leaked announcement and the official announcement, Steven has come out to do some damage control, release some information to try to calm the community down. Some bullet points that he recently released to the community would be that Ashes of Creation would be that Intrepid Studios would have a no box cost. It would be sub-based. The cosmetic shop will mirror the North American model. Intrepid Studios will handle the packaging of the game client. There will be no IP blocking and no region locking. So I want to turn to my panel, or the panel, or tribunal, to these... So guys, how do you feel about Intrepid Studios' decision on my.com, and have you been personally victimized by my.com? And also, do you think that Intrepid can regain some of the trust that they have lost? We'll start with Khazidd. I said that wrong. We'll start with...
It doesn't matter. So, I was traveling for work over this last week, and have just been like watching the storm throughout the Discord of everyone, telling their tragic stories of how my.com, their Mail.ru, ruined their lives.
Right.
Like, I get it. They've had really poor business experience in the past. And all of those things are founded, and those feelings are founded, and the lost trust is founded. All of that's founded. However, the way I see it right now, they have, the optimal incentive to turn around their business at this point in time, based on the storm that we've gathered in the community for actually having an MMO that'll break the shell of others that came before it. We have traction, we have interest. Now is the time, if ever, for them to turn themselves around. And I'm not saying that we should go into this and just blindly trust the situation, but with the assurances that Steven has made and what's likely contractually bound to them, I'm pretty comfortable just waiting to see what happens. Because worst case scenario is that they do a bad job, and if you've ever met Steven in person, they're going to get punished for it. There will be repercussions, and there will be a new publisher.
Yes, punish me, daddy. I mean, shit. So what do you think about it, Moose?
Khazidd definitely brings up some good points in that as a company, and if you want to succeed, you obviously have to make profit. There's not much incentive for my.com to do poorly.
Right.
And in their eyes, this may have been, an opportunity for a new beginning. And I highly doubt that Steven just went into this not knowing who my.com was, or that there weren't alternatives. I'm sure that they went through the process of talking to multiple different companies, seeing if there were other options. I mean, Iceberg Interactive is even a EU publisher that publishes a lot of smaller studios, but they've never done something on an MMO scale. And it requires a lot of trust that I'm sure that Steven and the team were trying to harbor with whoever they decided to go with. And I highly doubt that they went into this without a lot of consideration. So it's kind of odd that to this point, the community has given a decent amount of trust to Intrepid Studios, and for the most part, we have that trust has been reciprocated by the team. And then it gets announced that they're using an EU publisher, not even by Intrepid at the time, and the community backlash was just absolutely insane.
Right.
Before Intrepid could even get out any kind of release. And I think that Steven's response to the drama of it all has really kind of shown the transparency that they have shown in the past. And as to echo Khazidd a little bit, that we don't want to give them free reign and be like, oh, this is nothing. We need to make sure that we're watching it carefully and making our thoughts known about it.
I have been on both ends of my.com. I've had great experiences with them when I played Skyforge, but I've also had horrible experiences with them when I played Revelation Online. So customer service for me is a very, very important thing. Going to a restaurant and I get bad service, I'll never eat there again, or I'll never go to that place again because of bad customer service. And I do realize that it may not be reflective of the company itself, but of that individual person servicing me. And I have gone back and given restaurants or retailers second chances, and they've redeemed themselves. I kind of want to give my.com another chance, and like you guys have said, they don't benefit from doing a shitty job with Ashes of Creation. If they do a great job with Ashes of Creation, then that'll just open more doors for other companies to come to them to publish. One concern I do have is that they've recently taken on another MMO called Conqueror's Blade. Oh. So my concern is that will their team be too stretched to handle a project like Ashes of Creation? And also considering that some of their problems that they have with Revelation Online, Skyforge, some of their biggest MMOs are still having issues. So I'm just concerned that my.com is maybe taking on too many projects that they can't handle. I have faith in Steven, and I know he wouldn't steer us the wrong way about it. If there's something that's going on or something that happens during my.com's reign, then yes, we should bring it to light and we should hold them accountable to it. So do you guys think that implementing a community manager into play at this time would hurt or benefit Intrepid Studios?
So, it's all right, man. Timing is always an issue with any kind of decision like that. There's pros and cons to bringing in a community manager now, and I'm here to give my opinion that the pros greatly outweigh the cons. Right now, most of our interactions are through Steven, which is great. And, there's value associated with that. Everyone loves it. But as far as I'm concerned, Steven's time in building the game and working with the team is more valuable than the interactions that he's having with us right now. Some of the lower items that he handles should be farmed out to someone ASAP. One, it means we have, more consistent communication. It doesn't have to be like high tier communication of like, here's a leak, but someone to talk to and who can respond to us and triage some of the things that are coming through the community. Steven doesn't have time to do that right now. And because of that, some things slip by, people get upset, and then we have issues and drama and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, this is something that's been brought up in many forums, but unfortunately it's really hard to find a community manager that fits within the overall situation. It's a demanding community. Steven himself is demanding. It's a high-paced role given the company, so it all hasn't fit together yet. But my call to Steven is like, this is should be a number one priority.
Definitely. What about you, Moose?
I mean, I 100% agree with Khazidd. It's timing, like you said, can be an issue, but one of the best parts about long stay community managers is that they generate trust with the community, the way that Steven does. So when Steven comes out and says, to quote him, I've conveyed the points from the community and instituted policies and procedures to address them, we know that that's true. at least in the sense of, the direct interpretation of his words. And anytime you bring on a community manager and you talk about a sensitive topic, if they're early on, you may not necessarily know how informed they are, because you don't have a plethora of instances in history to look back and verify that what they're saying is true. So no matter when you bring on the community manager, you're going to start off rocky. But to Khazidd's point, you have to do it at some point, or else you're never going to get it to where Steven can finally take a step back and allow a lot of even small, minor community interactions or large-scale community interactions to be done by someone other than him.
How would you guys feel about a community manager that comes from the actual community itself?
So I don't have any it wouldn't be a bad thing, but it's really so dependent on who that person is. Because, sure, love the entire community. You hear sarcasm in my voice, you should.
What?
Some people are not as diplomatic as others in our community. So it's super dependent.
What qualities would you look for in a community manager that comes from the community?
Calm, composed, knowledgeable, respectful, timely. There's a long list. It's pretty stacked up against anyone that comes from within our community. It's easier for an external person.
Right.
Are you positioning right now? What's going on?
What?
Are you positioning? Are you interested?
No. I'm just curious. I'm just picking your brain. So, would you want someone who has no ties?
For one, the affiliation to Intrepid, you'd need to expand on that. Are you talking a former member of White Order, or?
Yes.
So, I would actually just call that an affiliation with Steven.
Right.
Which, to me, that isn't as big of a deal, because if they go into a community manager role, they have to sever those in-game, so to speak, ties. The way that it had been communicated to me before, and I don't know if this is getting edited or not, it's your choice.
We shall see.
Is that they've been very clear that there's going to be no hard in-game benefits of any sort, or the soft benefits from that relationship going forward. Right now, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care all the way through betas.
Right.
But on launch, there should be no advantage given. And having met the leader of White Order, now that Steve is not doing it, Steven, sorry, I forgot the end there. I don't think he would accept the benefit, because then he'd be really mad when I beat him when he still has it. You didn't warn me this was going to get philosophical.
Nepotism, right? Yeah. So, what about you, Moose? What do you think?
If they do the job and they do it well, I don't think it necessarily matters where they come from. I personally think I would prefer someone who isn't part of the community, because you can say you have no affiliations all day long, but someone who comes from outside, who maybe they specifically just are a social community manager and not specifically for video games, I feel like you can integrate yourself better that way than trying to come from a community member standpoint and then becoming a community manager. Either one works, so long as, like Khazidd was saying, they fit it's kind of our requirements, but whatever the requirements are for Intrepid to make a good community manager, because they need it, and they need it now.
Yeah, Gamescom interview. So this comm was obviously aimed towards people who were unfamiliar with Ashes of Creation. So most of their talking points were about how nodes worked, how caravans worked, the basics of the game. Some of the points that I thought were interesting. I can't talk. I'm sorry.
You got it, bud. You can make it.
So some of the points that they talked about that I thought were interesting were that the fucking shit. 500,000 players have registered on the site. The public roadmap for the game's development will be revealed at PAX. What do you guys think or hope will be revealed at PAX other than the roadmap?
us just getting a roadmap from a community perspective is a nice thing. And I feel like, not to go back to the topic, but if they'd had a community manager from the get-go, we would have had little updates about what they're doing. And so a roadmap, just in the sense of us knowing what to expect in the coming year or two, because we really haven't had an update on that really old graphic that used to be sent around the Ash's Discord back prior to pre-alpha.
Mm-hmm.
It just can go a long way. I think I'd be happy with that, and I don't want to, continue the mantra of send us nodes 3 because they'll get to it when they get to it. And so I think I'd just be happy with the roadmap as long as it's pretty concise and makes sense.
So there's obviously a lot of benefits to having the roadmap that I'm excited for. One is having more informed discussions and asking questions to the developers directly. My pet ask that I quietly beg from Steven every time I talk to him is I want a world map. I don't even care if it's a filled-in world map. I want to know what it looks like.
I like that idea. I like the world map idea. I don't know if you guys saw that forum post of one of the community members analyzed the entire Alpha 1 map and made it into a physical map. Am I crazy?
Yeah, a while back.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I want to see that as well.
I don't care about the details of what's on it,
Okay.
Getting granular for regions or whatever. I want to see the outline because we already have a rough idea of how long, not a rough idea. Based on what Steven said in the last stream, the world is going to be about 480 square kilometers.
Right.
So having a world map, then you can start to have a more refined picture of how nodes will be laid out.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, when you say world map, how detailed do you want that to be? Because there could be the argument of if it's too detailed, that could give people an advantage before the game actually launches. Yeah. How detailed do you want that map to be?
I want the border of the landmass that we're looking at with ocean versus the land. I don't even need any kind of topography. Don't need anything about biomes for anything. All I want is the outline of the landmass and a scale.
Okay, and is that for personal use, or do you want that in general for role-playing purposes?
No, definitely not an RP person. Got nothing against it. So there's a lot of assumptions you can make about the development choices that they are going to make for the world that maybe they haven't even figured out yet, based on how the mass of the world is organized. Right. We already know a few other things. One being that the node types are going to be fixed. We can start to make some assumptions on how large nodes would be, as well as how much of that world is actually modifiable by the players. Because there is going to be areas that are not. It might change with the node around it, but the area that a dungeon comprises is not going to be largely influenced by that space, if that makes sense.
Right. What about you, Moose?
If I'm also understanding you correctly, Khazidd, in the way that I would want a map is, it doesn't have to necessarily show all the nodes or anything, but maybe show one node, and it doesn't even have to be exactly where it would be on the map, and the zone of influence of a metropolis, assuming that it was a metropolis. Because when you think about them saying 5 metropolises and 5 castles, and there's supposed to be a real feeling of scale, and that you can't just travel easily between these and you need to use caravans. From the MMOs I've played, that's really hard for me to conceptualize. So just having the ability to see the outline, essentially the limits of the map, and then a scale of what a metropolis would look like would be really beneficial, even if it's not for lore reasons.
That is what I was struggling to say. So there's personal reasons for, guild reasons of, already thinking about, how do we conquer this world? But it's more of, how are they going to make 480 square kilometers work? Because if you think about, that is a massive amount of time.
Like, what do you
just
hope would come out of this map, RP-wise?
Well, I really like doing RP in terms of it makes the game more enjoyable for me. It can get other people hyped about playing it aside from just doing the quote-unquote busy work or whatever. But a map that just shows the outline and the scale, I wouldn't be trying to gain anything RP out of that, and I wouldn't really want anything more. I mean, I'm still, even though I would enjoy to know more about the lore, I'm of the opinion that even during the alphas, I really hope that they don't show too much off, because I really want the community to learn the world together and not necessarily be like, okay, you guys, because I think a large percentage of the community are going to be testers at some phase, and I don't want it to be like, okay, we've seen the whole world before we even really get to play the actual game. So I'd be perfectly fine with them just releasing outlines and little, if you want to call them like scenarios, kind of like they showed Alpha 0 to be, and Alpha 1 is probably going to be as well.
As a dream map, what types of PvP points would you like to see on this map?
So, to me, the PvP decisions and advantages are largely based on economic decision advantages. So, I want to figure out, what are going to be the common routes between areas. What kind of terrain potentially is associated with those routes? Where are the choke points? Where is there positions where you could, say, reinforce any activity in that area without it being well known? But it's really, really dependent on where's the flow of money going to be, and that is where the PvP will likely be.
And kind of to bounce off that, I think that we'll definitely see a lot more information on that in testing, to kind of relate it to the give and take or the risk versus reward of higher potential income for Metropolis as opposed to the risk of being sieged. I think of Venice from Civilization 5, where it's one city. I mean, unless you do some Merchants of Venice, but you have one city typically on the coast, and they make a lot of money. So maybe if you're a coastal metropolis, you have the ability to do all these sea trade routes and whatnot, but maybe a naval siege is one of the scariest ways for you to quickly de-level your node. So I think environmentally is the key, I think, in how they'll make certain nodes from a PvP perspective have more meaning. Whether it be, like Khazidd was saying, they've got trade routes that are in open fields. I mean, maybe that's a benefit because depending on how they end up coding it and whatnot, maybe it's a benefit because everyone, there's no like jumping you, but everyone, maybe now they know that from thousands of miles away or whatever, that they know that you're moving that caravan. So maybe a forest one would be better. It really, and this is also from a tabletop perspective, using the environment to help facilitate interesting encounters or interesting caravan or PvP, whatever it may be, is the best way to make the world feel alive and different.
So one of the forum posts that I've been coming across a lot lately has been a lot of PvE players talking about being forced into PvP. So how do you guys feel about PvE players trying to avoid PvP in a game that is built for and around PvP?
Let them. They've made the decision to buy into or subscribe for Ashes of Creation. They know what the game is. They know what it's been designed around. And if they know these things and they make the decision that they want to avoid PvP, there will certainly be ways to do that. But because of that, they're going to lose out on the benefit of interacting with that system. Either they're going to be forced out of nodes because they're ridiculous, or they're just not going to be having that meaningful interaction around those conflict systems. They're just playing half a game. I'm not going to complain about it. If they're part of my node and they didn't come and defend when we're being sieged, and they don't have a reason to not defend, maybe they don't agree with policies and they're doing it to be pacifist, then I can be a little bit spiteful. And in the future, not only am I not going to help them in a situation where they do need someone who's going to PvP, but I might go out of my way to make their situation worse. And that's just a threat of doing business at this point and the decisions that they've made.
Yeah, I mean, we're so far into the development of Ashes of Creation, and there's enough information out there that if you're jumping on board now and maybe you're just now realizing it, like it's your first time looking, that there is PvP integrated with PvE, maybe I can understand some like confusion, but the game works by having systems for PvPers that facilitate PvE, and I think that in theory sounds amazing. And if that's not what you're up for, I don't know. Maybe only just stay on non-combatant, and like Khazidd said, just avoid that whole system together, but you're missing out on a big chunk of the game.
Right. I'm kind of concerned PvE players not contributing to PvP during a siege, resulting in a downfall of a node. What type of systems are in place to prevent pacifist attitude?
I got a few answers for that. The first one's sarcastic. One, you take out a little black book in your desk and you write down their tag. Two, the metagame in this, theoretical regional economy system where you have player governance and all this stuff is getting the right people in your ecosystem to pursue whatever collective goal you have. And you do that through creating incentives by building buildings within your city, whatever stage it is, or tax policies, all these different things where you're trying to get everyone organized towards that collective task. The pacifist thing is somewhat of a failure of that, because if people aren't contributing, that means that they're not aligned with the incentives of your civilization, and that's a problem. Now you'll have the ones that are just like, totally, I'm not participating in any of this. Well, one, you don't want them in your society in the first place, because you're screwed. But you can't really do anything if they do get into it. I don't foresee a mechanic where you can vote someone off the island, so to speak. The only thing you can do is recognize that is how that person is going to play, and then avoid them in the future.
Yeah, same thing. Especially early on, it might be a little more confusing where guilds may say that they have a PvP or PvE focus, or that they try to do both, but as the world progresses, it'll be more apparent, like, oh, this guild only PvEs, and if you make bargains or deals with them, you have to know that they're not gonna fulfill any PvP part of the bargain. I think since we don't know much about the divinity nodes, to say that pacifism won't have its place, I feel like might be untrue in the future. There may be like ways to help defend a siege through religious pacifism. I don't know what that would encompass, and I have no basis for this other than I just like the image of a bunch of monk people coming out onto the battleground and chanting, and then summoning some deity.
You mean martyrs? Well, that's not pacifism. If they're summoning a deity to defend the city, like their actions have the direct result of combat.
Yeah, right.
I guess that's true. It's like, in one sense they're pacifists, but in the sense of like them wanting to not interact at all with it, they aren't. So I guess that's true.
So what advice would you guys give to people who aren't necessarily avoiding PvP, but are on the fence of it because maybe they haven't done it before, or they're just not sure of it? What advice would you give them?
So for the people that are on the fence about PvP, like, there is ways to fit into one of these ecosystems that develops around a civilization, where you don't have to be out there actively PvPing all the time. There is this expectation that you help defend what you've created,
right?
But there's always going to be that niche position of like, I want to be a master crafter, and that's the only thing I care about. So then your job is to then find the people that help support you do that, as well as the people that you can add value to by being a master crafter.
Right.
And if you continue to add value, they should be taking care of you.
Whatever your position is that you're providing to this civilization, you should be aware of that, but also you should be, say you're a crafter, you should be providing for that army, maybe discounting stuff, so that way your quality of life gets better, but also continues.
Yeah, I mean, say that there's like Pete's plating, and then Arnok's armory or something, and Pete's plating every time there's a siege. He just kind of closes up shop and doesn't do a whole lot. But Arok, well, he's making upgrades to the cannons. He's handing out, maybe there's specific siege weapons that he's made. He doesn't want to engage in the actual siege, but in a way he's helping out. Well, from that point on, if those people who that's important to, they're not going to go to Pete's plating anymore. He's not going to get the extra resources or business or whatever. So it's kind of a changing world as they keep, chanting at us, is you have the ability to change, how your civilization evolves.
I love you right now. You just brought up voting with your dollar in a podcast about a video game.
So I want to end this podcast with one final question. So what would you say to new players joining Ashes of Creation?
Just know up front that it's a game that through PvP and PvP interactions, it facilitates PvE. You have a great chance of making a community and really engaging in what a lot of people who are nostalgic for MMOs joined in the first place, is to have that massive multiplayer feeling of, really changing and enjoying what the world is, and get involved with the community. Don't take the echo chamber always at its word, and try to do your own research into it.
I would say that, like, for someone coming in, there's some systems and things that everyone's talking about that probably sound really complex, but I promise you, if you dip your toes in and find a system that you like, you can work around that. And as you grow into being an MMO player, as most of us have experienced, you will learn those other systems. They won't seem to be complex anymore, and you'll be surprised at what you learn throughout that process. So just dip in, see what you like, and play from there, and the rest of the community will support you.
Don't come into the community blindly, I guess you can say. So Khazidd, where can people find you if you want them to find you?
They can't find me, and that's intentional. Maybe in the future they'll be able to find me, but no plans or anything. I don't have a Twitter, don't look. I love you all, but I'm going to stay in the shadows.
And Moose?
You can find me on Mooseknee on the Ashes Discord or on the Ashes official forums. I post short stories there every now and then. You can also find me in the Sons of the Seven Discord if you ever need anything. Join Sons of the Seven.
Yeah, you can find me there. That's the only spot.
Yes, and I want to thank both of you for being on the podcast. So let us know what you guys think about this video, about your thoughts about everything we've discussed in the comments. And again, I'll see you guys on the next one. Have fun.